Have you ever looked at your backyard and wished it felt like stepping into a storybook? Today, I'll show you how something as simple as pebbles, water, and a touch of imagination can create the most magical fairy pond you've ever seen. Welcome to Backyard Fortune, a channel where creativity meets tranquility. This video has timestamps so you can jump to what you need, and if you have questions, leave a comment below. Most importantly, don't just watch, take these ideas and make them your own, using whatever you already have at home. Maybe to you, I'm just another voice on the internet. But behind every frame of this video is a family, a dream, and a heart that beats for creativity. Every subscribe isn't just a number, it's a spark that keeps this dream alive. Thank you for watching, and thank you for believing in me. One, Palette Garden Bar. Imagine stepping into a garden where the sunlight feels softer, filtered gently through vines heavy with blossoms. At the center of this scene stands a bar made not from expensive materials, but from something as simple as recycled wooden pallets. The first thing you notice is its texture. The wood carries the memory of its past life, the tiny imperfections in the grain only adding to its charm. Painted in shades of mint, blush, and cream, it instantly lifts the mood, like a canvas brushed with summer. On its surface sit pitchers of lemonade, bowls of ripe strawberries, and hand-painted ceramic cups, each detail reminding us that elegance doesn't need to be bought, it can be built. Move a little closer, and you'll find the shelves neatly holding jars of herbs, bottles catching the light, and small treasures that make the space feel alive. The scent of lavender and wisteria drifts through the air, and if you pause long enough, you might hear bees buzzing softly in the blooms nearby. This is not just a garden corner, it's an invitation to slow down. The palette bar becomes the heart of gatherings, a place where a simple glass of cold lemonade turns into a memory shared. Now, imagine the same idea placed in the heart of a cottage-style garden. The wooden structure, left in its natural grain, glows warmly under the afternoon sun. Wicker stools with soft cushions invite you to sit, while roses and ivy wrap gently around the pergola above. Fresh mint grows in jars at arm's reach, ready to flavor drinks served on the spot. There is something deeply satisfying about seeing herbs you've grown yourself being stirred into a glass. It's practical, beautiful, and sustainable all at once. It shows how design can merge function and comfort in a way that feels effortless. And as the sun dips lower, the garden bar takes on a new character. In the golden light of evening, the palette wood radiates warmth. Vases of roses and petunias add splashes of color, and fairy lights strung across the pergola begin to glow. Chairs gather around, the kind that invite you to stay a little longer, to talk until the night carries you away. The air is alive with the fragrance of daisies and wildflowers blooming nearby, and you begin to understand why something so simple can feel so magical. The beauty of a palette garden bar lies not only in its charm but in its accessibility. Palettes are easy to find, often free, and they carry a rustic strength that makes them perfect for outdoor use. With just a few tools, a bit of paint or stain, and imagination, anyone can create one of these. And it's flexible. You can build a small, cozy bar for intimate evenings or expand into a larger setup for family gatherings. Add herbs on the shelves, keep fresh fruit bowls handy, or decorate with seasonal flowers. The possibilities change as the seasons do. This is the heart of upcycling, taking what might be forgotten and turning it into something that feels like it was always meant to be here. The palette bar doesn't just provide a place to serve drinks, it creates a story, one of care, creativity, and the simple joy of making. Every sip, every bloom, every glowing lantern above reminds us that beauty is not far away. It's often waiting in what we choose to reuse. 2. Whimsical bike wheel trellis. There's something unexpectedly poetic about seeing an old bicycle wheel reborn in the heart of a garden. The spokes that once raced along roads now stand still, painted in pastel tones of mint, lavender, and soft yellow, catching the soft light of afternoon. Roses climb eagerly through the circles, their blossoms weaving a living tapestry that feels at once delicate and strong. Around the base, tulips, lavender, and bright sunflowers lean into the scene, as though applauding this transformation. What was once forgotten metal has become a frame for beauty, proving how easily we can give new life to the ordinary. As the day turns toward evening, the light changes, and so does the story. A collection of wheels painted in blush pink, sky blue, and butter yellow stand tall at the edge of a cottage orchard. Vines curl along the spokes, while cosmos flowers scatter bright stars at their base. Bees hover slowly, and butterflies pause long enough for you to notice the way their wings shimmer in the sunset glow. Behind, apple trees swell with fruit, adding richness and depth to the view. In that moment, the trellis doesn't just look like garden art. It feels like a gateway, as though stepping through its circles would carry you into a place where the everyday and the magical blur together. Morning brings its own kind of charm. In another corner, wheels painted in coral and turquoise sparkle under the first rays of light. Ivy threads itself upward while roses entwine naturally, climbing with quiet determination. Birds perch on the spokes, their songs filling the cool air, while dragonflies skim lightly through the flowers. The planter beneath brims with petunias and geraniums, overflowing in bright cascades of color. Around it, daisies and sunflowers stretch toward the sky, adding cheer and abundance to the setting. This idea is as practical as it is beautiful. Bicycle wheels are easy to find, often discarded or left unused, yet their circular form makes the perfect support for climbing plants. By painting them in bright or pastel shades, you not only protect the metal but also create a playful palette that stands out among greenery. Attach them to wooden posts or plant them directly into raised beds, and you'll see vines, beans, clematis, or roses find their way upward with almost no guidance. It's a project that costs little, demands little, but gives back so much: structure, color, and a touch of enchantment to your garden. And perhaps the loveliest part is how it reminds us that beauty doesn't need to be manufactured. It can be coaxed out of what already exists. A wheel once spinning across a road can stand quietly among flowers, offering its shape to something new. It's an act of patience and imagination, one that anyone can try. The reward is not just a trellis. It's the feeling of walking past it on a quiet morning or soft evening and realizing your hands helped create this little piece of magic. Three, flower crown spool table. There is a quiet kind of magic in the way a simple wooden spool, once used to carry heavy cables, can be transformed into the heart of a garden. Painted in creamy white or left in its natural weathered tones, the round table instantly feels like it belongs among the flowers. Around its edges, blooms tumble like a crown, petunias spilling in violet, daisies opening their sunny faces, and bright geraniums softening the wood. Atop the surface, a wicker basket of peaches and strawberries, or a tray of freshly poured tea, invites you to pause. Suddenly, the ordinary becomes extraordinary, a rustic centerpiece that turns a garden corner into a place of welcome. Look again, and the scene changes. In another garden, the same idea becomes playful and vibrant. The cable spool is decorated with garlands of violets, marigolds, and geraniums, their colors glowing against the wood. At the center, a pitcher of lemonade with fresh mint waits, surrounded by rustic stone cups. Bees hover, butterflies drift, and the air hums with the fragrance of lavender and roses. The table becomes more than furniture. It becomes an altar to summer itself, a place to gather, sip, and celebrate the day as it fades into golden evening. And sometimes the transformation leans toward the romantic. The spool is darker here, wrapped in trailing ivy and crowned with pink and purple petunias. A tray of cherries and warm bread rests at the center, with delicate china teacups waiting nearby. Around it, wildflowers bloom in every shade, orange, violet, and yellow, while soft sunlight filters through the trees, wrapping the whole scene in a gentle glow. It feels like a countryside picnic that has been waiting just for you, rustic yet utterly enchanting. The beauty of this idea is its simplicity. Old spools are often easy to find, sometimes discarded by workshops or utility companies, yet their shape is perfect for a table. With a little sanding, a coat of paint or stain, and your choice of decoration, you can create a centerpiece that feels both rustic and refined. Dress it with flowers that match the season, add a basket of fruit, or let ivy trail naturally down the sides. Each choice makes the table feel uniquely yours. And because spools are sturdy and weather-resistant, they last, quietly anchoring the garden as everything else grows and changes around them. It's in projects like this that the spirit of upcycling shines. Not only does it save something from waste, it creates a stage where life unfolds, cups of tea shared, fruit enjoyed, laughter lingering under the sun. A flower-crowned spool table doesn't just sit in a garden. It gathers stories, weaving them into the petals and the wood grain until it feels timeless. All it takes is a little imagination to turn what was once forgotten into a centerpiece that draws people in, offering not just a place to set things down, but a reason to linger. Four, magical garden mirrors. There is something deeply moving about the way a mirror can change a garden. Even when cracked, it still holds the power to transform. In one corner, a rustic frame painted in mint and lavender is filled with broken shards. The fractured pieces catch sunlight and scatter it like jewels across the cobblestones. Around the frame, roses bloom in red and blush, while petunias and daisies spill across the path. Ivy climbs gently up the edges, softening the lines, turning what might have been discarded into something unexpectedly enchanting. The reflections are imperfect, yet that imperfection makes the scene feel alive, shimmering with mystery. Further along, a weathered wooden fence carries another frame. This time, the mirror is whole, and its reflections are clear. Sunflowers rise proudly in the glass, tulips lean forward in soft pastel colors, and above them the sky stretches blue and open. Lavender grows at the base, filling the air with fragrance, while climbing roses climb in delicate arcs nearby. A wrought iron chair sits with a wicker basket of herbs, inviting anyone to sit for a while and see the garden twice. Once in front of them, and again, softly echoed in the mirror. It's an illusion, yes, but one that deepens the sense of space and wonder. And then there is the mirror that looks like a window into another world. Framed in ivy and softened with painted wood, it reflects the hanging curtains of wisteria. Butterflies drift through its surface, their wings glowing against the purple blossoms. Geraniums and daisies bloom around its base, making it hard to tell where the real garden ends and the mirrored world begins. In the early light of morning, the whole corner feels like a dream, the kind you don't want to wake from. What makes these mirrors so special is how accessible the idea really is. An old frame, a second-hand mirror, even broken shards can be enough. By mounting them against a wall, a fence, or propping them on the ground among flowers, you can create depth and wonder in any garden space, whether large or small. Add climbing plants or trailing vines to soften the edges, and suddenly the frame doesn't look placed, it looks like it belongs. These projects remind us that a garden is not only a place to grow plants but also a place to play with light, reflection, and imagination. Magical garden mirrors are not about perfection. They are about transformation, about turning something simple or even broken into a portal of beauty. Each reflection carries a surprise: a sunflower taller than expected, a sky that feels wider, a bloom caught at just the right moment. It's in these fleeting, multiplied glimpses that a garden becomes more than just a collection of flowers. It becomes a story, told not once, but twice, shimmering back at you every time you walk by. Five rainbow tin planters. Imagine walking into a garden where color itself seems to sing. In front of you, ordinary tin drums have been given a second life, painted in cheerful hues that echo the rainbow: mint green, coral pink, sunflower yellow, lavender, and even soft sky blue. They no longer look like discarded metal but stand proudly as planters, overflowing with blooms. Petunias burst with bright petals, marigolds glow like captured sunlight, and trailing ivy spills gently down the sides. Butterflies dance in the warm air, bees hum softly nearby, and a rustic shed wrapped in climbing roses frames the scene like a painting that has come to life. There's something inspiring about how these drums, once dull and utilitarian, are transformed into vessels of beauty. Imagine lining them along a cobblestone path, painting each in soft ombre shades of turquoise blending into blush pink. Fill them with tulips reaching upward, daisies nodding gently in the breeze, and geraniums spilling over with joyful abundance. When the evening sun glows through the petals, the flowers cast colored shadows on the stones, creating a magical walkway that feels both playful and serene. It is a reminder that the simplest of items can carry so much joy when touched with a little creativity. And then, picture them gathered in a circle, painted in bright, joyful tones: sunny orange, soft violet, and fresh blue, like a gathering of friends in the heart of a garden. Roses add their romance, cosmos sway like dancers, and lavender breathes fragrance into the air. Behind them, a white picket fence is dressed in cascades of wisteria, framing the scene in dreamy purple blossoms. Here, the planters do more than hold flowers. They become part of the story, turning an everyday corner into a garden that feels like a fairy tale. It's a simple DIY idea with powerful impact. By repurposing old tin drums, you don't just save waste from piling up, you create joy, color, and life in your garden. A coat of paint, a choice of flowers, and suddenly the ordinary transforms into extraordinary, giving you a living rainbow to admire every day. Six, rustic door garden gate. There is something magical about the way an old door can transform when it finds a new purpose in the garden. No longer a barrier between rooms, it becomes a threshold to wonder. Picture a vintage wooden door painted in soft sage green, nestled between tall hedges. Pale pink roses and clusters of daisies bloom at its feet, while lavender sways gently in the breeze. The brass handle, warmed by the afternoon sun, feels like an invitation to push it open and discover the secret waiting beyond. In another corner, a rustic door, its paint weathered by time, stands slightly ajar. Sunlight streams through the opening, casting golden rays across a winding stone path. Above, a wrought iron lantern waits patiently for dusk, ready to glow with soft light. Around the frame, ivy curls with quiet determination while jasmine blossoms release their fragrance into the air. It feels as if stepping through this door would carry you into another world, a quieter, more enchanted place where the everyday melts into serenity. And then, there is the door adorned with cascades of wisteria and roses, its creamy paint flaking gently to reveal the life it has lived. The arch above is alive with blossoms in lavender and blush, spilling fragrance down upon anyone who pauses there. Beyond the gate, foxgloves and tulips rise tall, butterflies dance in the sunlight, and the whole scene feels like a threshold into a storybook paradise. A reminder that even the most ordinary, forgotten objects, an old door left behind, can become the most extraordinary way to enter a garden, turning a simple pathway into a fairy tale journey. Seven, Mosaic Tile Flower Path. Imagine walking into a garden where the very ground beneath your feet feels like a storybook. Instead of plain stone or gravel, the path itself comes alive with fragments of old plates, tiles, and ceramics, each piece carrying its own history. In the first vision, porcelain shards in cobalt blue, blush pink, and cream are set together into a winding walkway. Under the midday sun, the pieces gleam like jewels scattered on the earth. On either side, tulips, marigolds, and lavender rise in radiant colors, their blossoms attracting butterflies that seem to float like little guardians of the path. There's something deeply poetic about reusing what was once broken and giving it a new life as a ribbon leading deeper into a fairy tale garden. In another corner, a mosaic path unfolds with even greater intricacy. The recycled ceramics sparkle in yellows, greens, and violets, each fragment reflecting light like stained glass in a chapel. It winds through flower beds thick with roses, daisies, and cosmos, their colors blending with the hues of the walkway. Bees hum lazily in the air, dipping from petal to petal, while the soft sway of wisteria casts moving shadows across the tiles. Walking here feels less like a stroll and more like stepping into a painting, every curve of the path a brushstroke of color and life. It is a reminder that magic can be crafted by hand, with patience and imagination. And then there is the enchanted lane beneath tall trees, where cobblestones and mosaic tiles are pieced together in patterns of turquoise, violet, and golden yellow. The recycled dishes and tiles shimmer with an otherworldly beauty, each one catching the dappled light that filters through the leaves. Ivy and petunias spill over the edges in cascades of green and purple, softening the edges of the path. The further you walk, the more the scene glows, as if the garden itself is whispering secrets of the past and inviting you to follow its story. A broken plate may no longer serve a table, but in this form, it becomes a timeless part of a landscape, a path that belongs to both the earth and the imagination. Eight, Wheelbarrow Floral Cascade. There's something magical about taking an object once built for work and turning it into a vessel of beauty. A simple wheelbarrow, whether painted in soft turquoise or weathered with age, can be tipped forward and suddenly transformed into a garden waterfall that never runs dry. Imagine petunias, tulips, daisies, or marigolds spilling gracefully from its basin, their blooms cascading as if flowing like a gentle river across the grass. Trailing vines weave between the flowers, adding depth and softness, while a bird perched on the handle or butterflies hovering above bring the entire display to life. Creating this at home is far easier than it looks. All you need is an old wheelbarrow, metal or wooden, it doesn't matter, lined with soil and a layer of drainage material. Choose a mix of upright flowers for the top and trailing varieties like ivy, sweet alyssum, or creeping Jenny to create the illusion of a floral waterfall. Tilt the wheelbarrow forward, and the arrangement will naturally spill outward, mimicking the flow of water. The charm comes not from perfection, but from abundance, the way the colors and textures mingle in happy disarray. This idea is more than just decorative. It's a chance to breathe new life into something old and forgotten. Place it at the edge of a lawn, against a garden wall, or even among taller blooms like sunflowers and lavender, and it becomes a centerpiece that draws the eye and warms the spirit. At dusk, when the golden light glows through the petals and the air fills with the hum of bees or the flutter of dragonflies, you'll feel as though your garden has been touched by a storybook scene. A wheelbarrow of flowers is more than a planter. It's a cascade of joy, spilling beauty into every corner of your outdoor space. Nine, lantern towers from old pots. When the day turns to evening, and the garden prepares to whisper its night songs, there is something enchanting about lantern towers made from old pots. What once might have been forgotten in a kitchen or shed is reborn here, stacked in gentle harmony, painted in jewel tones of turquoise, copper, and gold. Tiny cutout patterns glow softly from within, casting starbursts and floral shadows across cobblestones and flower beds. Around them, snapdragons and petunias bend toward the light, as if recognizing the lanterns as kindred blooms of their own. And if you look closely, fireflies drift among them, their faint sparks mingling with the crafted glow, as though nature itself is joining in the magic. This is more than decoration, it's a way to reclaim forgotten things and weave them into stories of light. Stacking old planters or pots requires little more than a steady hand and some imagination. The trick lies in carving or drilling simple patterns and letting candles or LED lights shine from inside. The result is a sculpture that doesn't just illuminate, but transforms the space around it with dancing shadows and warm radiance. Place them by a bench, beneath a trellis heavy with wisteria or roses, and suddenly the garden becomes a stage for twilight gatherings, whether of family, friends, or perhaps, if you let your mind wander, visiting fairies. Even the simplest arrangement can feel extraordinary. Imagine walking down a pathway bordered with lavender, and there, between marigolds and daisies, these glowing towers rise like beacons, guiding your steps. The light reflects softly off petals, gilding them with evening gold. Ivy in the background climbs a stone wall, and the lanterns cast their glow upward, illuminating every leaf as though the garden itself has taken a breath of firelight. It is practical, yes, a way to reuse what might otherwise be discarded, but also deeply poetic, a reminder that beauty often waits patiently in the overlooked. And perhaps that is the greatest gift of all, to see ordinary pots, chipped or worn, transformed into something that makes nightfall feel less like an ending, and more like the opening of a fairy tale. A project like this is not about perfection, but about presence, allowing your hands to shape light and your garden to hold it. (10) Rustic Pebble Fairy Pond. The gentle sound of water has a way of calming the heart, and when paired with the artistry of a handmade pond, it can turn even the smallest corner of a garden into a sanctuary of magic. Imagine a circle of smooth river pebbles, carefully placed by hand, forming the boundary of a miniature pond. The water within is so clear that it mirrors the sky above, reflecting clouds, trees, and the golden glow of the sun. On its surface, lilies open their petals to the day, while dragonflies skim gracefully, their wings shimmering like glass under the light. Around the pond, moss and ferns creep naturally into place, softening the stones, while tiny cottages tucked into the greenery give the sense that this pond belongs not only to you, but to the fairies who might wander in at dusk. Creating a space like this is simpler than it seems. With only a small liner, some collected pebbles, and a touch of imagination, you can bring the tranquility of a water feature to your own garden. A few added plants, lavender, violets, or creeping ivy, quickly turn the edges into something lush and alive. And if you wish to make it more whimsical, tiny bridges, little figurines, or rustic lanterns can give it the look of a living storybook. Imagine sitting nearby at twilight, watching as the water ripples when a bird dips in for a drink, or as fireflies drift slowly over the surface. A pond like this does more than decorate a garden. It changes its atmosphere entirely. It draws in life, butterflies sipping at the edges, bees pausing on floating blossoms, and robins splashing gently in the water. It becomes a stage where nature plays its quiet, beautiful dramas. And as you watch, you realize that this small feature is more than a project, it is a doorway. A doorway into a slower rhythm of living, into the poetry of the seasons, and into a fairy tale world that has always been waiting just outside your back door. And there you have it, a rustic pebble fairy pond that turns even the smallest corner of your garden into a sanctuary of magic. If this inspired you, let me know in the comments. What would you add to your own fairy pond? Tiny lanterns, a wooden bridge, or maybe floating candles? I'd love to hear your ideas. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs a little magic in their backyard. Together, we can keep these dreams alive, one garden at a time.